What the designation means. 1. Under U.S. law, the CPC designation comes from the International Religious Freedom Act of 1998, IRFA. It applies when a country is found to have engaged in or tolerated systematic, ongoing, and egregious violations of religious freedom. Violations include things like torture based on religion, prolonged detention without charge for religious reasons, enforced disappearances because of belief, or other flagrant denials of the right to life, liberty, or security on account of religion. 2. Being designated a CPC is a serious diplomatic signal. It does not automatically guarantee severe sanctions, but it gives the U.S. government a broader range of tools and more leverage. 3. Specifically for Nigeria, on 31 October 2025, President Trump announced that Nigeria is being designated as a CPC. The U.S. press reports add that alongside the designation, there are threats of cutting non-humanitarian U.S. aid, potential sanctions, and even possible military action if the situation does not improve. What Trump appears to intend, or what actions he is signaling. Here are the main intentions and possible next steps as outlined in his statements and supporting materials. Boosting pressure on Nigeria's government. By using the CPC designation, Trump is signaling that the U.S. views Nigeria's current handling of religious freedom, especially alleged persecution of Christians, as unacceptable. This is meant to push Nigeria's federal government to take clear, visible, and faster action to protect religious minorities. Reducing or conditioning U.S. aid or cooperation. The designation opens the possibility of the U.S. cutting or restricting certain kinds of aid, especially non-humanitarian foreign assistance programs, limiting military or security cooperation, or blocking other kinds of support. However, such steps are not automatic and often depend on waivers or broader strategic interests. Increasing U.S. diplomatic scrutiny and potential sanctions. The CPC status means Nigeria will be under greater lens from the U.S. government for its religious freedom record. If Nigeria fails to improve, the U.S. might escalate with more direct measures such as sanctions, export restrictions, or even opposing financial assistance via multilateral institutions. Threat of more forceful action, military involvement in an extreme case. In his public posts, Trump went further than many past CPC designations. He warned of guns-a-blazing intervention, preparation for military options if Nigeria's government continues to allow the killing of Christians. While such a military action would be very far-reaching and unprecedented in this context, the mention of it signals serious intent and raises the stakes for the Nigerian government. Signaling to domestic U.S. constituencies and globally. The move also appears intended for U.S. political audiences, notably evangelical Christian groups and human rights constituencies, and to signal to other countries that the U.S. is willing to act on religious freedom concerns. Some advocacy groups in Nigeria and internationally welcomed the designation. Why Nigeria was targeted. The U.S. and multiple advocacy groups cite the situation in Nigeria where Christian communities, especially in certain regions, have been attacked by extremist groups, for example, Boko Haram, Islamic State West Africa Province, and armed militias, and allege the government has not done enough to stop it. These incidents include mass killings, forced displacements, and abductions of church members in some states. Also, Nigeria had previously been designated a CPC in December 2020, but was removed from the list in 2021 under the administration of Joe Biden. Potential implications for Nigeria. Here are some of the practical consequences Nigeria may face and things to watch. Diplomatic strain. Nigeria's government may face more scrutiny from the U.S., potential criticism in international forums, and pressure to respond with reforms or stronger action on religious freedom. Note, Nigeria has already rejected some of these claims, saying its security challenges affect all faiths and it retains its sovereignty. Politico. Aid and cooperation risks. Some U.S. assistance, especially non-humanitarian foreign assistance programs, security cooperation, may be cut or conditioned. While humanitarian aid might continue, the uncertainty could affect planning and budgeting. Military/security cooperation. The threat of military action, though not likely immediately acted upon, could hamper trust between Nigeria and the U.S., affect ongoing cooperation against extremist groups, and lead Nigeria to be more cautious in its interactions with the U.S. Nigerian government has already asserted it will welcome assistance as long as our territorial integrity is respected. Internal pressure on Nigeria's government. Nigeria's government will likely face greater pressure both domestically, from citizens demanding more protection, and internationally, from human rights groups and foreign governments, to demonstrate real improvements in religious freedom protections. Impact on international financing or trade. If the U.S. chooses to oppose loans or restrict Nigeria's access to U.S. export licenses or multilateral funding because of the CPC status, this could have economic implications. The Nigerian media explainers note that the designation puts Nigeria under closer U.S. scrutiny and could affect agreements. Important caveats and considerations. The CPC designation does not always lead to immediate sanctions. In many cases, the U.S. uses it as a warning or lever to press for change rather than jumping straight to punitive measures. Nigeria is a large, complex country with a wide range of security, religious, ethnic, and developmental issues. Many of the violent incidents attributed to religious persecution are also tied to land disputes, herder-farmer clashes, banditry, and insurgency, and not only religious identity. Some analysts say the narrative of Christian genocide may oversimplify. Because Nigeria values its sovereignty, any U.S. move perceived as overly aggressive or unilateral could provoke backlash, complicate bilateral relations, or reduce Nigeria's willingness to cooperate. Nigeria has already asserted it will welcome assistance as long as our territorial integrity is respected. Summary. In essence, by designating Nigeria as a CPC, President Trump is signaling that the U.S. views Nigeria's current situation on religious freedom, especially the treatment of Christians, as unacceptable, and is placing Nigeria on a watch list for potential further action. The intention is to push Nigeria to respond with stronger protections and reforms. The move opens the door for the U.S. to reduce aid, impose sanctions, or even consider more forceful responses if Nigeria does not improve. For Nigeria, this is a warning and a moment of heightened diplomatic risk, especially in the context of U.S.-Nigeria relations, security cooperation, and foreign assistance.